The first light of dawn slipped gently across the rooftops of a small village on the western bank of the Nile, touching each mud brick wall with a muted glow that softened edges and warmed the waking world. The cool desert air still clung to the courtyards and narrow streets, lingering like a fragile memory of night. In one home, a woman named Merit stirred on her woven mat, opening her eyes to the faint, familiar scent of clay jars, dried herbs, and the gentle smoke that rose from the embers kept alive through the night. Her daughter lay curled beside her, breathing softly, her hair a dark tangle against the linen cloth that covered them. Merit rose slowly, stretching her arms as the pale morning light traced the outline of her silhouette against the wall. The floor beneath her feet felt cool and smooth, packed earth shaped by countless footsteps. She moved quietly toward the courtyard, where the early breeze rustled the fronds of a date palm. The sky overhead was shifting from deep blue into a misty lavender, the kind of tender color that signaled the peaceful unfolding of another day. Women across the village were rising as well, each moving with the same gentle rhythm that tied them to the land, the river, and the daily routines passed down from mother to daughter for generations. At the grinding stone near the courtyard corner, Merit knelt and placed her hands on the smooth, worn surface. She fetched a small basket of barley grains, each kernel smelling faintly of the fields where her husband and brothers had worked during the last flood season. As she scattered the grains onto the stone, their dry whisper filled the air. Her hands began the familiar circular motion, pressing down with even force, breaking the barley into flour with a slow, steady rhythm. The grinding stone always felt cool at first, but warmed gradually beneath her palms, mirroring the quiet warming of the world around her. The sound of grinding joined the soft morning chorus of other homes, women preparing bread, children beginning to stir, goats bleating in distant yards. It was a peaceful music of domestic life, softened by routine and shaped by long practice. From time to time, Merit paused to tuck a loose strand of hair behind her ear, the scent of barley dust settling around her like a faint, comforting veil. Her daughter approached sleepily, rubbing her eyes, and sat beside her, watching with quiet fascination as the grains transformed into fine powder. It was a lesson absorbed slowly, day after day, until it would someday be hers to repeat. With the flour prepared, Merit mixed it with water and a bit of yeast saved from the previous day's dough. Her fingers folded and pressed the mixture until it softened beneath her touch. She shaped small loaves and covered them with a cloth, letting them rise in the gentle warmth of the courtyard. Later, she would carry them to the communal oven where the village women baked together, sharing stories and passing news in soft voices while the bread browned behind clay walls. Inside the house, Merit lit a small lamp to chase away the last shadows. She unwrapped a bundle of herbs hanging near the wall and placed a few leaves into a jar to steep into a morning drink. A mild infusion of mint and marshmallow root would soothe her husband's throat before he left for the fields. The aroma drifted gently upward, mixing with the soft morning air and bringing a sense of calm to the home. After a simple breakfast of bread, onions, and cool beer, Merit's husband stepped out into the warming sunlight. Their son followed close behind him, eager to learn the tasks that awaited in the fields. Merit watched them go, feeling the easy comfort of knowing their path, their work, their return. Ancient Egyptian Women lived at the heart of family life, guiding the home through each season with steady hands and quiet resilience. They managed food, weaving, household accounts, and the spiritual well-being of the family with the same calm dedication that shaped every corner of the day. As the morning ripened, Merritt and her daughter prepared to tend the household weaving in the shaded part of the courtyard. The loom stood tall and simple against the wall, its threads arranged neatly like soft columns of light. Merritt's fingers moved with practiced grace, pulling the shuttle through the warp, each pass creating a new line in the cloth. The fibers, flax softened from long hours of soaking, felt cool and slightly slick between her fingers. Her daughter sat nearby, twisting leftover strands into small cords, the beginnings of her own skill taking shape in her small, careful movements. Women in Egypt were known for their weaving, spinning, and sewing, skills that filled each day with rhythm and purpose. The cloth Merritt wove would become garments for her family, or perhaps pieces to be traded at the market for oil, salt, or new pottery. With every movement of the loom, she felt a quiet satisfaction, knowing she shaped not only fabric, but security and comfort for those she loved. By late morning, the sun had risen high enough to warm the stones of the courtyard. Merritt wiped her hands and stepped inside to fetch a clay jar of dried beans for lunch. She rinsed them in a bowl of cool water, the sound soft and soothing as the beans shifted beneath her fingers. Into the pot she placed beans, onions, garlic crushed under a small stone pestle, and a pinch of herbs from the garden. The pot simmered slowly over a gentle fire, releasing a warm, fragrant steam that curled upward and filled the house with the promise of a simple, nourishing meal. Outside, neighbors passed along the narrow street, greeting Merritt with soft words. One woman stopped to ask for help preparing a small offering to Hathor, the goddess who watched over music, joy, and women's well-being. Merritt agreed, stepping into her home to fetch a small sachet of fragrant resin. They walked together to a small household shrine nearby, placing flowers and lighting incense with slow, reverent movements. Religion flowed through daily life with the same naturalness as the breeze through the date palms. Women tended not only their families, but the spiritual harmony of their homes, offering quiet prayers for health, prosperity, and safe childbirth. When noon arrived, the heat settled over the village in a warm, sleepy hush. The fields beyond shimmered in the sunlight, and the sound of insects grew louder. Families gathered in their cool rooms for lunch, sharing food in gentle silence, broken by soft conversation. Merritt served the bean stew with fresh bread, dipping her own piece into the warm broth as her daughter recounted the small events of the morning. How a lizard had darted across the courtyard wall. How she had finally learned to twist thread without letting it tangle. Merritt nodded, encouraging her with a warm smile. After the meal, the family rested. Merritt sat near the doorway, fanning herself gently with a woven palm leaf. The air held the faint scent of roasted grain, river reeds, and the dusty sweetness of sun-warmed earth. Her eyes drifted half-closed as she listened to the quiet hum of the afternoon. Women murmuring in neighboring homes, the occasional bleat of goats, the slow rustle of palm leaves above. It was a time when work paused and the heat urged everyone into soft idleness. When the sun began to dip, casting long, calming shadows across the courtyard, Merritt rose to continue her tasks. She walked to the well with her daughter, balancing a clay jar on her hip. The coolness of the well's shaded stones was a welcome contrast to the warmth of the day. Women gathered there, speaking gently as they filled their jars. News from nearby towns traveled through these conversations, stories of new marriages, markets, births, or festivals at the temple. The voices mingled like soft ripples on water, unhurried and warm. Returning home, Merritt prepared the evening meal. She fetched a small bowl of lentils, washing them until the water turned clear. This dish, too, simmered slowly, filling the air with a calming aroma. She added a handful of leeks from her garden and a pinch of coriander. As the meal cooked, she lit a small lamp in the corner of the courtyard, its flame flickering with gentle steadiness. The light cast warm, dancing patterns across the walls, softening the deepening colors of evening. When her husband and son returned from the fields, the sky was painted with shades of rose and soft amber. They washed their hands in a basin of cool water before sitting down to eat. The family shared their stories of the day, quiet, small details that wove their lives together like threads on a loom. The lentils tasted rich and earthy, the bread soft and warm. After the meal, Merritt brought out a small plate of figs, their sweetness a familiar comfort. Night settled gradually over the village, bringing with it a sense of calm that softened every edge of the world. Lamps flickered behind door curtains, children's laughter faded, and the distant sound of frogs rose from the canal. The cool night air drifted gently through the courtyard, carrying with it the promise of rest. As Merritt prepared for sleep, she looked around her home, feeling the steady contentment that came from a day lived in quiet balance. Her work shaped the rhythm of her family's life. Her hands kept the household warm, fed, clothed, and steady. Women in ancient Egypt walked through their days with dignity, owning property, managing households, weaving the fabric of daily existence with patience and care. They lived lives both ordinary and quietly powerful, grounded in routine and guided by the gentle pulse of the Nile. Lying on her mat once more, Merritt listened to the night settle across the village. The moonlight slipped softly through the doorway, casting pale patterns on the floor. She closed her eyes, letting the cool darkness embrace her, knowing that tomorrow would unfold with the same comforting rhythm, the grinding of grain, the weaving of cloth, the preparing of meals, the laughter of children, the soft hum of life along the river. And in that rhythm, she found peace,